Hey folks, Dana Ammons here with your Funding Friday update. And this week, I want to clean up a funding misconception that gets a lot of founders stuck. A lot of founders still think the best funding opportunities are always the flashy ones, and frankly, the ones that are free of obligation with regard to paying them back. And those are the big grants, the big competitions, the big announcement that lead to the big headlines and also the big deadlines. But that is not always where the most usable money lives. Sometimes the smartest money is not the money with the best headline. It's the money that actually matches the business you have right now. And that matters even more this week because we are at one of those points in the calendar where a lot of founders are realizing the deadline-driven opportunities they were watching are getting tighter, while the broader, more usable funding paths are actually still there, ready and available for you to apply. So this week's Funding Friday is not about a grant countdown. It's about 3 funding paths founders can still actually use right now. So let's get started. And the bigger lesson is this, and keep this in mind, not every useful funding path is always going to be a grant. And not every useful funding path runs on a public deadline. And also, not every founder should be chasing the same type of capital. Now, you hear me say this a lot, but some founders need different types of capital, like community-backed capital. Some need lender-backed capital, and some need platform-backed capital. And we'll talk about those 3 types of opportunities today. And if you know which kind of founder you are, your funding strategy gets a lot cleaner, a lot quicker. So first up, Kiva U.S. loans. You can go to kiva.org/borrow and find more information, but Kiva's current U.S. borrower page says it offers 0% interest, no fees, no collateral, and no minimum credit score for U.S. small businesses. It also says founders can qualify for a no interest, no fee, no collateral loan between $1,000 and $15,000, and that the application itself takes about 30 to 60 minutes, and that approval can take about 10 to 15 business days. Kiva also makes it clear that this is a crowdfunding-based path, which means part of the process is actually inviting people in your network to lend and show support before the public fundraising actually opens up. Now, who is this really for? This is a strong fit for the founder who may not have the strongest traditional lending profile yet, but does have 3 important things: a real business purpose, a real community around them, and a real willingness to tell the story clearly. Now, who exactly does that apply to? Well, you could be a service founder, a local retailer, a food founder, a beauty founder. You could own a childcare business. Maybe you're a creator or even a craft maker. A product-based founder trying to fund inventory, equipment, or a next operational step is also a very likely candidate for this type of loan. And what makes Kiva different is that it does not primarily reward banker language. It rewards community belief. It rewards the founder who can say, hey, here's what I'm building. Here's what the money will do for me. And actually, here are the people in my community who believe in me enough to show up. Now, that is a different kind of readiness, but it also means Kiva is not ideal for every founder. If you are deeply uncomfortable asking your network to participate, to loan or lend funding, if you need immediate cash, or if you are trying to refinance existing debt, this is probably not the right lane for you. Kiva works best when you are willing to let the community be a part of the underwriting story. And that's a pretty powerful story. Now, second up is SBA Microloans. You can go to sba.gov/microloans, and there you'll find the program provides loans of up to $50,000 with an average microloan of about $13,000. It also says the loans are made through nonprofit community-based intermediary lenders, not directly by the SBA, and that founders can use them for things like working capital, inventory, supplies, furniture, fixtures, machinery, and equipment. The SBA also says these funds cannot be used to pay existing debt or purchase real estate. That's key. And that the maximum repayment term is 7 years, and that interest rates generally fall between 8 and 13%, depending on the intermediary lender. Now, this is a very different funding path from Kiva. Remember, Kiva is community backed. You have to bring people to the table to start the process. SBA microloans are intermediary backed. That means this is a strong fit for the founder who has a bigger or more practical capital need and is ready to sit in a more lender-shaped conversation, especially if you already have relationships with your local lending partners. So if you are a product founder who needs inventory, a retail founder who needs fixtures, a salon owner who needs to get equipment, maybe a food founder who needs to buy some more machinery, this is a great opportunity for you to look at rebuilding, upgrading, or expanding any of your services, especially if the number you need is too big for a micro grant and too specific for vague storytelling. Because this is where clear use of funds really matters. What exactly are you buying? How exactly does it help the business? Why do you need it now? And what does this money really unlock for you? That is the posture. And the reason I like this path is because it helps founders move from the stance of I need funding to better understanding what kind of business expenses they're actually going to use this funding on to change the business. That is a stronger founder mindset and one you want to have. And the third opportunity we're going to talk about today is Shopify Capital. You can go to shopify.com/capital to find more information about this great opportunity. This program gives select merchants access to funding they can repay as they sell right from the Shopify admin. And the page says that there are no credit checks, no impact to your personal credit score, minimal paperwork, and that funds can come in as quickly as 2 business days if approved. It also says eligible merchants may see funding of up to $2 million, and that repayment happens through a percentage of your daily store sales, and that eligibility is automatically determined using Shopify's underwriting model, which is based on things like your sales, disputes, and customer engagement on your store. Shopify also says merchants generally need to have sold on Shopify for at least 90 days before being considered for this one. Now, this opportunity is a very specific founder fit. This is not for the founder who's not online yet, who doesn't have a store set up on Shopify, and who hasn't found traction. This is not for someone who does not already have a real Shopify-based selling engine. This opportunity is for the founder who already has real sales motion, and all they need is capital that behaves more like their business behaves. And what does that mean? When sales are up, that repayment moves much faster. But when sales are slow, repayment slows down as well. And that matters for e-commerce brands. So if you are already selling through Shopify and you need funding for inventory, ads, operations, payroll, or working capital to support growth, this could be a very strong fit for you. But the real strategic lesson with Shopify Capital is this. It rewards platform validated readiness. Not community proof, not founder paperwork first, but platform proof. It is watching whether your store is already behaving like a business with real momentum. And that makes it useful for a founder who is past idea stage and into a phase where your cash is flowing, you've got real traction, but your cash flow timing is the actual problem. Now, step back and look at these 3 opportunities together. Kiva rewards community-backed readiness. Remember, bring a friend before you get this thing started. SBA Microloans, they reward lender-ready use of funds clarity. And Shopify Capital rewards platform-validated sales readiness. These are 3 completely different types of funding logics. And this is the lesson I really want founders to hear this week. Stop assuming every useful opportunity is only in the form of a grant. And stop assuming every smart funding move has a public deadline attached to it, one that's got you in a crisis. Stop assuming the only real question is how much money can I get out of each of these opportunities? The better question to ask is, what kind of capital is my business ready for first? Because if you choose the wrong type of capital, even if technically you qualify, you can still waste a lot of time and potentially waste that actual funding. The founder who needs $30,000 in equipment should not always chase a $2,500 storytelling contest. And the founder who already has Shopify sales velocity should not ignore platform native capital just because it doesn't sound as sexy and as glamorous as a grant. That is how better funding strategy happens. So here's the filter for this week. If you need lower barrier, community-backed capital, and you are willing to activate your network, look at Kiva on kiva.org/borrow. If you need practical business funding for inventory, equipment, or working capital and want to work through a local intermediary, go look at SBA Microloans on sba.gov/microloans. And if you are an existing Shopify merchant with real sales momentum and a real cash flow need, go look at Shopify Capital on shopify.com/capital. Look, don't just chase what sounds impressive. Chase what is actually usable. That is how stronger funding decisions happen, and that's how you get to the right funding matchup you need. Thanks again for following us on the Brand Blueprint and tuning in for this latest update on Funding Friday. Please like, share, and follow us on all of your favorite platforms, and we'll see you the next time on the Brand Blueprint.